not always know the season of their significance. Hi, this is Barry Phillips of 10-Minute Torah, day number 2, the Torah portion, Mikketz. Let's go back to Bereshit, or Genesis, chapter number 41. And let's begin reading with verse number 9. Then the chief cupbearer spoke to Pharaoh, saying, I remember my crimes today. When Pharaoh was wroth with his servants, and put me in confinement in the house of the captain of the guard, both me and the chief baker. Each one of us dreamed a dream in one night, he and I. Each of us dreamed according to the interpretation of his own dream. And there was with us a Hebrew youth, a servant of the captain of the guard, and we related to him, and he interpreted our dreams for us. To each man he interpreted according to his own dream. And it came to be as he interpreted for us, so it came to be. He restored me to my office, and he hanged him. Then Pharaoh sent and called Joseph, and they hurriedly brought him out of the dungeon. And he shaved and changed his garments and came to Pharaoh. You never know that the moment you've been waiting on, or a season of significance. It may not be a life of significance. It may be a season of significance that will suddenly appear to you. Now, the day that Joseph went from being a prisoner to viceroy, the prime minister of Mitzrayim, that day that he woke up would have started off just like any other day. Whatever his normal routine was, that's what he was involved in. Under the moment that the call came, Pharaoh wants you. And they suddenly prepared him hurriedly. And the next thing he knows, he's standing in front of the ruler of the entire country. And he's very much put on the spot saying, perform, do your thing. Tell us the meaning of my dream. It is that Yah-given ability at a moment of significance that places him as the second highest man in authority in the land. He woke up in jail that morning. He went to sleep, newly married, and living in the palace that night. Now, I don't want to give anyone the idea that you're going to wake up in your normal living situation tomorrow morning or the next day, and you're going to be living in the White House that afternoon. Probably not going to happen. However, you never know where you're going to be required to stand in significance. The word admonishes us to be instant in season and out of season, to study and to show yourself approved. Any moment the phone can ring and you're going to be called upon to exercise a gift of prayer, to intercede for someone, and it could be that it is your prayer that tips the balances. There is a beautiful picture that I've loved from rabbinical writings that describe how the prayer and intercessions affects the throne of heaven like scales. You have the scales that tip against, where hardship or a negative answer comes, or they can tip positively, where the positive answer to the prayer can come. And our adversary is trying to tip the scales against us, accusing us of being unworthy of a good and beneficial answer. But prayers that are joined together, many people pray and began to balance the scales and tip in our favor. Yeshua said, pray in my name according to my Father's will. We're encouraged to pray according to the covenant and the authority in the name of Yeshua. Now we're tipping the scales toward our benefit. We're told, excuse me, in the book of Yaakov or James, that the effective and fervent prayer of a Siddiq, a righteous man, avails much. So there is an advantage then to calling on those who have a great walk of righteousness and ability before Yah. It tips the scales in our favor. Excuse me. You never know where your prayer, being added to the weight of many others that are praying, is going to be the deciding factor where the scales tip at our favor or in someone else's favor. So never stop the prayers until the answer comes and it's solidified. Keep interceding. So Joseph is brought out, he is summoned, and I can see at least three things happen to him before he even got to Pharaoh. Number one, he would have been bathed. I'm sure that the living conditions in a dungeon or even a political prisoner jail would have been much less than desirable. It would not have been thought couth or appropriate for a soldier, or not a soldier, but a prisoner with foul odor to come and stand before the king, before the Pharaoh. So he would have been mikved. That is, his status would have been changed. And that's what happens. Scripturally, we call it, or traditionally we call it baptism, being submerged in water and coming up. The Hebraic understanding is a mikvah. One is immersed in water completely to signify a change of status. A woman who's completed her cycle, at the end of the cycle, she goes and she mikvahs. She's going from unclean to clean, not sinful, unclean to clean. One who has been born again. Not only are their sins forgiven, and they're now decreed to be righteous, but their spiritual unclean status is lost, and they rise up a new creation clean in their status. So that's what this mikvah was about. He was going from being a prisoner to someone of significance. He had his garments changed. Garments carry our identity. In Hebraic thought, clothes make the man. So the garment change indicated that what my prisoner garb was is no longer necessary. Yeshua came to one that was begging, and he had a beggar's garment, and he said, "What do you want?" "I want to see." And he threw the beggar's garment to the side and was led to Messiah. Why? Because I'm not going to be a beggar anymore. I'm not going to be a prisoner anymore. I'm going to change my garments. And then he was prepared, shaved and cleansed, and prepared to appropriately stand before the king. That's the work of the Messiah. That's what he seeks to do for us. And so we understand then that this was a national crisis. I want to reiterate something here that we've shared before. Being angry, being out of sorts, being overwhelmed with current social, political situations, they're not helping us. There needs to be an ability to be an answer instead of an increase of the problem. If we continue in this chapter and we come to verse number 38, Pharaoh said to his servants, "Could we find another like him, a man in whom is the spirit of Elohim?" Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, "Since Elohim has been showing you all this, there is no one as discerning and wise as you." Again, three things. Three things that needs to be seen in the body of Messiah. Number one, it needs to be very apparent that we have within us the spirit of Elohim. Number two, we need to walk in wisdom, not in emotions, not in the latest theories, not in what someone else says, but in genuine wisdom. And then we need discernment to know what is truth, to seize it, and to walk in it. Let's do that today. More on these things tomorrow. Until then, shalom.